like I've said this before, I quote stuff that you say to me all the time. Like every week, this is what Steve Logan says. All great teams have tendencies. And I want to explore that. Just I want to start a little bit with the Panthers. And Dave Canales has intimated that their identity will be running the football. It was hard to tell last year for some of it, but that they will be keep pounding is their motto. How do you craft a pass offense with your identity being running the football?
Well, this is the great dilemma of Steve Logan's entire 72 years on the planet. You've really hit a nerve, okay?
Yes.
Because, it's an amazing it's a default mode for football coaches. Anytime there's a problem, at halftime, anytime there's a problem when things aren't going well, which is most of the time in any football game.
Right.
Things don't go well, and I know why. Here's why. The other team's trying like hell to disrupt your plan. That's the problem.
Right.
But what I was going to say is I've been on the headsets a million times. I've been in the locker rooms at halftime when things aren't going well, and somebody, I used to behind my mask that I would wear, which, I was trying not to display all of the rage and anger that was in place. Behind my mask, I was just waiting for somebody to go, we need to run the football. Okay, and then it used to make my toenails curl when I would hear that, because that doesn't get us anywhere. And one of the most violent confrontations, it wasn't violent, it was verbally violent.
Right.
I had with one of my former coaches, Bill Lewis, that I worked for. Okay, Bill Lewis said to me one day in a staff meeting, because all Bill really did was tolerate me, because I was throwing the football too much. Okay, and one day Bill said, "Steve, we got to run the football," and I just lost my composure, and I said, "Do you want to run the football or do you want to score points? Choose." That's where I live. We can either run the football, and I'll run it. I'll call runs till everybody is blue in the face. But if we want to score points,
right,
I don't want to hear somebody tell me we need to run the football more. Okay? Because the game isn't built that way, and it hasn't been built that way since basically, 1988? As we morphed into the 90s.
Right, Bill Walsh.
Bill Walsh changed everything.
Yeah, or maybe before that, Don Coryell.
Don Coryell was ahead of the curve. But, and I have great respect for Coach Canales and the idea of what he's putting forth. If that wants to be your identity, okay, that you're going to run the football, your question was, how do you craft the passing game? Immediately when you asked me that question, here's the answer, the best answer I could give you. What you just forced all of us into, if that's going to be who we are, we're going to run the football. Right. Immediately, the entire season now rests on 1st and 10. That's it. Okay? Because now 1st and 10 has got to be where it's the most valuable moment in the football game. It is anyway, but now it's become exponentially more valuable, because if we're going to run the football and we're going to convince people on the other side of the ball that we're going to run the football, okay, the play action pass game on 1st down has got to be a massive part of what we do. We've got to be experts at it. We can't throw an incompletion. It's got to be done routinely, and we have to. And I had this agreement with Bill Lewis one day. I told him, I said, I'm all for that, okay, but here's what you're going to have to agree with me. When I call a play-action pass on 1st down, which is going to be fundamental to this thinking, you have to agree with me on Monday morning that call was a run call. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. You want because you're trying to get the defense to think it's a run.
100%, and it has to exist in that environment before anybody's going to fall for this idea that the Panthers are going to be a run-first football team. That's a great idea, okay, and I'm all for it. But I can't come in here on Monday and you go, look at here, you only ran the ball 28 times out of 70 snaps.
Right.
Wait, there's 28 runs there. There were 14 play-action pass calls. Okay, so you have to agree with me as your offensive coordinator trying to express your vision of what you want. You have to give me those other 14 calls and say, well, guess what? We called, in essence, 35 to 40 run-type plays. The play-action passes have got to be put in that category for the play caller, or here's what's going to happen to you. And this is going to morph into another conversation that you can really relate to in a minute, but here's the thing. You're going to force me to go first down run, second down run, and then you're going to go, hey, Steve, it's 3rd down and 8. Go ahead and convert 3rd down and 8. I got news for you. 3rd down and 8 in the NFL, you want to know what the percentage is? 26%.
Yeah.
That gets your ass fired. No, it doesn't. It gets the offensive coordinator fired first, and then it gets the head coach fired. Okay, who was the coach that was there that made this same talk? He's the head coach at Nebraska now.
Matt Rule.
Matt Rule.
Yeah.
You and I had this conversation on the air.
Sure.
When he came in there and he fired that offensive coordinator from LSU, he fired him in midweek and said, that's not who we're going to be.
Yeah.
Yep. Who's gone on to become what? One of the hottest NFL assistants in the league, right?
Yeah, right. I mean, we can. It wasn't working out with the Panthers, but that doesn't mean it was his fault.
Well,
they had personnel issues.
Well, look, that's where it all begins anyway.
Yeah.
We all know that. You're not going to win the Kentucky Derby riding a jackass. You got to have a thoroughbred. We got that part. So here's the deal is that, that's the answer to your question. How do you craft the passing game? Well, it begins and ends on first down.
Right.
And second down and neutral, which is, what does that mean? It means second down and 6 or less.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And the screen game. The screen game is part of the run game, right?
The screen game has got to be part of the run game.
Right.
And if I'm working for a head coach that will agree with me on that principle, okay, that these pass plays have got to be part of the run game. Let me take you back to Michael Vick,
okay,
at Atlanta, early years. Okay, Atlanta was built on the wide zone one-back football play.
Mm-hmm.
True.
Yeah.
Okay, and they were doing a great job with the inside and outside zone in a one-back offense. Well, what was the next play called? It was Michael Vick running to his right, faking that, and coming back to the left side of the field on what's called a naked.
Right.
Because there was no pulling guards. There wasn't any protection. It was a naked, and Michael Vick would outrun the unblocked defensive end, and he would either throw the ball down the field, rarely, but normally he would just take off running because he never was a very good drop-back passer until Andy Reid got a hold of him late in his career. But anyway, that football play had to be counted if Michael Vick did disconnect and did roll to his left and did throw the ball, complete or incomplete. That had to go down in that head coach's mind, Jim Mora at the time, as a called run play.
Right.
Had to. And if it doesn't go down as a called run play, you're going to have a massive rift in your coaching staff. And there's going to be blood on the killing room floor every Monday morning after a loss. And there'll just be a tacit tolerance put forth even after a victory when the head coach doesn't categorize the play-action pass as a run play for the offensive coordinator's sake.
You know what you just did? Steve Logan is joining us here at Steve Logan Show on Twitter. You just basically put all of the analytics-based football writers, reporters that chart pass plays. You just threw all of them completely for a loop because now we have to judge different plays in different categories. And I don't believe any of our heads, and I'm not an analytics-based football guy anyway. I'm much more old school. I criticize by feel, Steve. All of the categories now are changed. Let me ask you one quick thing because I want to ask you about the state of college football, because I know you are probably not somebody who's thrilled with it, but I think you predicted a lot of it. Real quick about Anthony Richardson and the Colts, who it was probably an overreach for a draft. Probably might even be being too kind. But they certainly didn't give him any time to develop at this point. And I just think that's an epidemic in professional football, in that they overdraft and then they they put the guy on the field right away and expect him to do great things. And then when it doesn't happen, they declare him a bust and they move on. Do you have in like 90 seconds a theory on how quarterbacks are not developed today?
Well, that's it's endemic to the new National Football League. We all grew up in an era where Steve Young was developed behind Joe Montana, and that was the routine. That was the way the NFL operated. But the money and all this other stuff has changed. You don't have that luxury anymore. I will say this about Anthony Richardson, because I still talk to coaches that are actively coaching in the NFL and college. I talk to them a lot. The word on Anthony Richardson, it's not talent. That's not the problem.
Right.
There's a leadership issue at work there that tends to. There's just not enough of it, to put it bluntly.
Right.
And that's been a problem there. And if that is a problem, that's a big problem. You can't get in the huddle filled with 90 gallons of testosterone with 10 other men and be anything less than an alpha male. I've been in those huddles in the NFL. I've been around those huddles. And if you don't have an alpha male pulling the trigger, it's not going to last very long at all. And I've heard more than once that tends to be what's going on with the Richardson kid.
Yeah, I mean, his physical gifts, arm, athleticism, all that. Sure. But But it's endemic. It's not just him. There's tons of guys like that around the league that just you get. Mitch Trubisky was drafted second overall, and he forced into the starting lineup by the Bears. And now he's just kind of accepted life as the backup to Josh Allen in Buffalo. And hey, you know what? There are worse things in this world, but the Bears wasted a second-round pick on him. I just think we just do a terrible job. We'll have a longer conversation about that when I don't want to ask you about the state of play in college football. And this is not so much about NIL for me. It's more about the way the money that all of these schools earn has corrupted the landscape of college football. Money should have been available. Money's always been available to players. I've heard stories about washing machines. Yeah. So where are you at with regards to, the Big Ten's got 18 teams. The ACC's got 17. Big 12 has 16. SEC has 16. They're talking about 28-team playoff. Where's your head at with today's college football?
Well, part of me, the vengeful, as you know, I'm a very vengeful guy. The vengeful side of me is enjoying this with great glee, watching the NCAA getting absolutely hammered.
Yeah.
And you touched on it. We are here where we are right now. I'm going to open my show this Wednesday night. We're going to do a Wednesday night show.
A Wednesday show? Because the game's Thursday.
Because the game's on Thursday. But anyway, I'm going to open my show with how in the world did we get here? Okay, with exactly what you're talking about, the collegiate landscape. And it goes back to the NCAA being absolutely immovable, non-flexible about paying the football players something. If 15, 20 years ago, 10 years ago, the NCAA had come out and said, you know what, times have changed. Let's give all these kids $20,000. That would have absolutely none of this would have happened because those kids would have been happy as they could be with $20,000.
Right.
But because they wouldn't do that, now it's got to be $2.5 million. In fact, I talked to a coach just this morning. The starting quarterback at, where was it? Kentucky? I forget who it was I was talking to, but he said that their quarterback left and ended up holding a chalkboard. He transferred, got $1.2 million to transfer, and didn't even get the starting job at where he transferred. This was last year. I could almost give you the name, but I just had this conversation this morning with a coach from Kentucky. He said, Stevie transferred and got $1.2 million to hold the clipboard.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting here and I'm laughing at the NCAA about this. Okay, get you some of that, boys. What do you think of that? That you wouldn't give all these kids $25,000, $30,000 of all the revenue that you've been raking in all these years. So that's where we are. So the vengeful part of me, I'm front row with my popcorn, and I'm just laughing my fanny off watching this show. Okay? On the flip side of it, thank God I'm not coaching in it because my whole shtick was to develop.
Right.
Okay, well, those days, you know, even in the NFL, you could develop a player because you would have them 2 to 3 years. These guys in college, you've got a kid for a semester, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you know, the East Carolina level of football, those poor guys down there, they lost like 9 guys off their defense.
Yeah.
9. And so, you know, there's no development anymore. It's just roster management and hope you hit on a kid that can play one semester for you at the East Carolina level. Because if he plays well, he ain't coming back because you don't have money to keep him.
Right. So
it's really crazy.
With the way things are, with the transient nature, and it really is, I keep saying this, it's a lot like the European soccer. And I've heard there's one coach that wants a transfer fee, essentially, if you come and get one of my players. If Northern Illinois loses a player to North Carolina should have to pay a certain transfer fee in order to take.
Idea.
I absolutely support it.
But that's a good idea.
I am curious, what does it do to you say the East Carolina level, the App State level of football? We have the two programs in this state that I look at identically, in that the school loves football and they have a history of great football. What 5 years from now, what does their football look like versus what the Power Four looks like?
I don't know that this will ever happen. It will if the ESPNs of the world put some money in it, and if they would just go ahead and admit this is a Division I AA or whatever you want to call it, what it used to be called, and monetize it and make a tournament, and you know make a tournament just like they're doing now for the Clemsons in Texas and Ohio State. Then you've got a new level of football, and I think it would generate enough interest to make it, watchable, doable, and that's what you got, because that's what you got now. Nobody will admit it except me.
Because you're not coaching anymore. You can't admit it when you're a coach.
Well, I admitted it in 1998.
Yes.
2 years before I left East Carolina, when the BCS started, and I'm repeating myself for the 4 millionth time.
Mm-hmm.
When that BCS thing came in, I told our athletic director and president, everything just changed. We are in deep trouble. And they looked at me like, I can't say, you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
They looked at me like I was crazy.
Wow.
And then the narrative began that, well, Steve Logan quit recruiting because we had no more access to the level of players that we used to have access to. It changed overnight.
Yeah, it became a national game as opposed to a regional game. It put all the focus on the end of the season as opposed to the season.
Well, let me just close our segment with this. And here it was in the trenches in 1998. In 1999, I went out recruiting after this BCS model came in, and I lost a defensive lineman to Wake Forest. And if you can appreciate 30 years ago, okay, Wake Forest hadn't had a first down in a decade. Okay, not a first down. And I asked this kid, I said, "You're going to what?" He said, "Wake Forest, coach." I said, "Why?" Here's what his answer. He said, "Because they are in the BCS and they have a chance to win the national championship and you don't." He was 100% correct.
Right.
And from then on, it's been a downhill slide for everybody at the East Carolina level. There have been a few exceptions. I get it. I mean, there's some of that. But the exceptions now are absolutely beyond rare.
There's like one exception, really. Boise State. Boise State's the only one that got their way into BCS games and excelled in them. And even last year was part of the playoff. They got a higher seed than the ACC champion because Boise State really deserved it. Steve Logan, you're the man. Wednesday night in Greenville because the game is Thursday. I thank you always. Love talking to you. It takes all the pressure off me.
All right. Give me a call anytime.
You got it. Steve Logan. He's the best. At Steve Logan Show on Twitter.